Hey y'all, I'm Elisa, the Scrappy Wife behind ScrappyWife.com, and today I have an art journal process video for you. I am excited to jump into my art journal. I just wanted to show you something I love about this Dilutions art journal before we get going, is that it has this pocket in the front. And I already pulled out things, but if you have collage pieces or things you're cutting out that you are loving, then you can store them all right here, which I think is just fabulous. So I've pulled out some collage pieces. I have a bunch of acrylic paint just off camera over here, some Dina Wakley gloss sprays. I'm excited to kind of just start creating and see what comes of it. So I will put you guys on fast forward. I think we'll kind of aim at the back over here and let's go. All right, so I'm going to get started here. I am using these Dina Wakley acrylic paints, which are new to me and I am loving them. They dry so well. They're perfect for writing on the top of, which is great for art journaling. And I'm just using kind of an old card that I can scrape the paint down the page with. And this is a great technique for just getting paint on the page to get started. I wanted to use this picture of this girl that I thought was gorgeous. She's in like some light pinks and has some white and yellow around her. So pretty. So I'm going to use her. So I put the paint down first, then I went ahead and put a piece of my collage that I wanted to put on, and then I'm going to add some paint around the edges of it and over the top of it. So when you're using collage pieces in your art journaling, I highly suggest incorporating it into the journaling by layering it with paint. It's one of my favorite things to do, to use these gorgeous images but still make them feel a little bit more unique to your page. So I went over it with a light pink, and now I have these two sets of portraits, and they're all pictures of shoes, places that people have been. And so I wanted to use both sets of three on the opposite page, and I'll just place them right here. My thought behind this was that these pictures would kind of represent places that this girl had been and how it had influenced who she was today. So again, I'm going to take some more acrylic paint, this time in white, and you can see I'm layering it over the top, over the edges, kind of incorporating those pieces a little bit more. And it's just kind of a hot mess right now, but I love it. The paint scraping technique is super simple. You can't get it wrong just because you can't really control it. You just scrape color on page. It ends up with cool color, cool textures, cool layering, and I really enjoy the effect. All right, next thing I want to do, I have this stencil. This is actually from Illustrated Faith. I think it is so cool because it is rainbow. And so I'm spraying the back with Pixie spray. Pixie spray is like a tacky product. It's a spray. You spray it on the back of your stencils, let it air dry for a few seconds, and then place it on your page, and you get a really nice seal. So that way you get a really good impression. And I'm using this teal color acrylic paint, and I'm using what I feel like is a very dry brush technique, meaning I'm only getting a little bit of color down on the brush and then very carefully brushing it through the stencil, just because I didn't want to use a ton of paint that would leak all underneath the stencil. I really was looking for this pattern, this impression coming through, and so I'm just being really careful that I'm not overloading my brush, if you will. And then once again, I'm going over the top of the magazine cutout. I'm not just ending at the edges, but this is going to help incorporate these into my my art journal page even more. You can see that I get a pretty clear coloring underneath the stencil. So I'm just going to continue the same technique. We're going in a diagonal from the lower left to the upper right, which is like my favorite line to follow on art journaling, and I'm not sure why, but it's something I do almost all the time. I'm not sure if it just kind of signals growth to me, like a chart would. I don't know. Let me know if you have any ideas on why I might be super into this particular diagonal line, but it's something that definitely is, I'm always drawn to it. I almost always have this kind of line for your eye to follow in a lot of my art journaling pieces, in my faith journaling, and a lot of different things that I do. So I'm getting that here. And again, this color is bringing it all together, incorporating it all into one full piece. And I love how it came out. All right. So now around the edge, I'm going to come with this white acrylic paint, and basically I'm creating a border around the edge. I'm just coming through really sloppily with a white border. And I wanted to, again, bring it all together. I didn't want the manila there. I know I'm going to want to put a pattern here. And this is just an example of why I really like this acrylic paint, because later on you're going to see me write over the top of this and it just doesn't have any issues. And whenever you have a matte acrylic paint, that is really one of the big benefits, is that it's super easy to write over the top of it. I also love that for this particular page, I'm just getting to be messy. I've definitely felt in a messy mood with my art recently. I just want to just throw things on the page, and I'm not totally sure why, because the rest of my life I am like hyper working on getting organized in my whole house, and I'm just loving throwing things on the page right now. So that's what's happening. And I think when you are kind of feeling that creative influence, you should just embrace it. Go for it. See what you have to learn from some different techniques like this when you're just kind of putting things on the page, because it's gonna progress you through that creative journey. There are times when we want things really neat, when we want lines, when we want certain color balances, and then there are times when we have kind of a different idea of what's gonna go on. All right, so as I was painting the border around the page, I noticed that there were some gorgeous florals on this girl's face, and I decided let's continue the florals. So I grabbed some yellow acrylic paint. I'm adding just the centers of these daisy-like flowers, and I will put those in some different places. And then I'm going to grab my Posca paint pen once these are dry. I'll grab my Posca paint pen in white, which is probably my favorite paint pen for art journaling, and just add all of the petals to these different flowers. And I really, really like how it brightens up the page, and how, because it overlaps different magazine pieces, that it makes them feel like part of the page. It makes them feel a little bit more incorporated into what is happening in the rest of the page. You can see how that floral motif continued throughout is going to connect this girl to where all of those pictures are of people's feet, which, by the way, is one of my favorite pictures to take. Your feet in a different location, I think, is such a cool idea, of just thinking of all the places that your feet have been, everywhere they've traveled, everywhere they've experienced. And it's just a cool perspective to look at where your life has taken you. And so just taking a moment to look exactly from where I stand, like being right where your feet are, is a cool effect. So I love that I found these in a magazine. These are mostly from Real Simple magazine, which is a great one to get if you're looking for collage pieces. All right, here is the border that I was talking about earlier. I'm going to use this stencil, which is a bunch of kind of wonky squares, and I'm just tracing the inside of the squares. We're going to go down the left side of the page and then over the top, just to where it just crosses over the gutter of the page. So adding all of those in, and then I will go down the right side of the page, and on the bottom add an additional 2 rows that will once again go just over the gutter of the page. I did decide to leave, I was originally going to do like a complete border all the way around, but I did decide to leave some of it open just because I felt like it might be a little bit much otherwise. So once I draw all the squares, I'm actually going to go back and create kind of a checkerboard pattern. And this made me laugh. So I was being really careful to try to stay in the same pattern. And I was reminded of when I was younger and I used to draw things on notes for my friends. Like before there were text messages, we would write notes in class and I would draw all kinds of things, and patterns were my thing. And I thought it was good luck to break a pattern, to not have the pattern be correct. And you guys, I get off on my pattern here. And so I unintentionally break the pattern, but in the end, I feel like that's good luck. So as I was doing that, I was trying to think of a title for the page, and I thought of these wildflowers, and I kind of came up with a quote on my own. I don't think this is a quote I've heard other places. It just kind of came into my head, and it says, "She grew like the wildflowers, a compilation of all the places she'd been." And once again, I'm just kind of embracing the mess. I'm not doing hand lettering here. I'm just doing my regular handwriting across the page, purposefully not making it be extra perfect. I wanted it to be a little bit sketchy looking, if you will. So I'm going to add that. And then I'm going to add a few more hints of black on the page. I'm going to add some black dots in the middle of each of these florals just to bring that in. I'm not going to lie, I maybe wish I hadn't done that. Like you'll see here in a second. Just to bring it down a notch, I added those black dots. It's okay. I think maybe I went too far. And then I ended up adding a few splatters of some gold Dina Wakley gloss spray just because I love splatters and we're just really embracing the mess on this particular one. So adding that in as well. Otherwise, this art journal page is done. If you like this page, please give it a thumbs up and consider hitting that subscribe button as well as the bell notification button. I have linked all of the supplies that I used down below, including these awesome Dina Wakley acrylic paints, so be sure to check those out. I want to give a huge shout out to my Patreon members. Thank you all so much for all of your support. We are having a ton of fun over there. You get extra content, extra videos, printables, Zoom calls, all kinds of things going over on Patreon. So make sure to check out the link to my Patreon account in the description box below as well. All right, I hope that you have a fabulous day. And as always, keep it creative.